Hi, this is Elena with Black Sheep 303 Creative, and my project today is a colorful unicorn card that I made for my older niece's recent birthday. She loves unicorns. Using the Pinkfresh Studios Unicorn Dream stamp set that you see there, and I think it's absolutely an amazing stamp set. Really pretty, so I had to use it. And I'm going to be stamping the unicorn onto some Artist's Choice cardstock using VersaFine ink. So VersaFine is a sticky clear ink, and it's going to allow me to heat emboss this. I'm going to emboss it in gold embossing powder, which will stick to the sticky ink when I pour it over there. So sorry, my camera's shaking. I guess I was really pressing on my stamp platform a lot. It takes a lot to get the camera to shake because it is mounted to the ceiling overhead. But anyway, so there's my gold embossing powder that I'm pouring over the ink, and it's sticking very nicely to the image, and that powder, baby powder pouch allows it to not stick where it shouldn't, that I used in the beginning. And I'm just heat setting it with my Ranger heat tool. And that is the feature of the card, which is the unicorn. It's a fairly large stamp. Now to color her or him, I'm going to use my distress markers. So this is Mermaid Lagoon, and I initially started off just coloring it right along the inside edge of where I thought it would be darkest on the mane. And then I'm going to take a brush, it's a water brush, but I'm only dipping it in water, and then try to pull out the color with the water that's on my brush. And the cup with water and is up in the upper right, as you probably figured out. That didn't really work, so I decided instead to color the marker onto the craft mat and then take my wet brush to the marker and then just color onto the cardstock from there. And that worked like a charm, no problem at all. And you can see that the more water I use, the lighter the color gets, and the less water, the darker it is. And so that kind of allowed me to get a nice, I don't know, like ombre effect on the three colors that I used on the mane. So I used Mermaid Lagoon, and then I'm going to use Pink Raspberry, and then I will also use Wilted Violet and do the exact same thing. So that's pretty much done now. And now I'm also going to color in the necklace, I guess, on the unicorn, using the same three colors to just tie those together. And I thought that was probably all the coloring I was going to do on this. That was really all that was necessary. But as I was looking at it, I felt like the gold flowers, while very pretty being gold, just weren't colorful enough. So I decided to grab my Spectrum Noir metallic markers and use those to kind of fill in some of the areas. So I used the silver on the horn, and now I am using the pink quartz to color the flowers. And then I'm using the, let's see, green citrine over the leaves on one of them. And then I will go to the jade green for some of the other colors. And I will then add some blue topaz. And a little bit later, you won't see me do it, I add some amethyst as well. Now I also stamped a bunch of the flowers in the stamp set onto some Artist's Choice cardstock using Gina K Design's Sandy Beach ink, so it was really light and I could just go over it with markers. I knew I wanted to do that, so I went over some of those first leaves with it's a Spectrum Noir Colorista marker called Pear Green, and then I went to my two Illustrator markers for other green. So this is LG4, and then the third green I will use will be DG2. So I wanted to have a little bit of variation on the greens. And the Colorista markers have a really nice super thin tip, so it's easy to get into some of the details. And then the brush marker on the Illustrator markers allowed me to do that on the rest of the items. And then this is Canary out of that same set of Colorista markers. It is set number 6, in case you're interested. And then this is Hot Pink. And I will also use a little bit of cyan to finish off the coloring of the flowers. And I was really happy with how they came out, but I wanted a little more detail, so I did go back in later with a Copic liner 0.03 and add in and like kind of go over some of the line details just so that they stood out a tiny bit more, and you may or may not notice that later. But there's the coloring for this card complete. Now I wanted a funky watercolor background, so I cut a piece of Arches hot press watercolor to 4 1/4 by 5.5 inches, and now I'm just taking a wide brush and some distress ink that I've smushed onto my craft mat, and I'm just dipping my brush in water, dipping it into the ink, and then spreading the ink around the front of the card, what was going to be the background of the card. And I'm kind of using the die cut unicorn to sort of help me with placement for the orange and the yellow. I didn't want too much of any one color standing out too much, and I wanted it to show behind that stamp. And there are all of my die cut out flowers. I did die cut both the unicorn and all the flowers using my Scan and Cut 2, and that worked like amazing. And then I did sparkle the heck out of the unicorn's body with my Spectrum Noir clear sparkle marker, and there's my amethyst marker too. Just be aware that if you do that, you need to not hit the metallic markers, because the clear sparkle marker and the metallic markers do not like each other, and the metallics will bleed. So just be careful when you do that. Now I cut that piece of grass. It's Noble Fur Lawn Fawn cardstock. I used the Adventure Edges die set from Elizabeth Craft Designs. The greeting was die cut with the smallest circle in the Stitch Circles die set, and this is a piece of Passionate Pink Gina K Designs cardstock cut with the second smallest die in the Dotted Scallop Circles die set from Elizabeth Craft Designs. And then I die cut the watercolor panel using the second largest die in the Dashing Rectangles die set to get kind of a fun edge around it. And my card base is an A2 size top folding card base made out of Gina K Designs Ocean Breeze cardstock. And now I'm just adhering the watercolor panel down to the front using 10mm clear double-sided adhesive tape from Elizabeth Craft Designs. I'm going to use my ATG gun for the circles, just crisscrossing around on the backs of them to get a lot of adhesive on them and hold them in place on the card front. I already have 6mm and 3mm clear double-sided adhesive tape on the back of the unicorn, so I will start peeling that off in order to get her in place on the front. And then I'm going to line up all those die cut, well, many of the die cut flowers across the bottom. And so I'm going to spend a little time here figuring out placement, because she's supposed to be walking through like a field of flowers. So now I have glued all the flowers down using my Zig 2A glue pen across the bottom. And I'm also going to be using my Zig on the top edges of the grass on this piece of grass, and then I will just stick down using 10mm double-sided adhesive tape across the bottom edge. And then I also die cut the two words Happy and Birthday out of the Words One Celebration die set from Elizabeth Craft Designs out of Passionate Pink cardstock, and I'm going to adhere those two words along with one of the leftover flowers on the inside of the card using my Zig 2A glue pen. And then I felt like the grass looked really flat, so I decided to grab my two green Spectrum Noir metallic markers, the green citrine and the jade green, and just kind of make some sketchy lines to look like metallic-y grass to kind of bring a little texture and interest to that lower edge of the card. And that finished off the project, and I thought it turned out really nicely. I didn't want it to be too girly because she's not a little girl anymore. She's a young lady. But I thought it was kind of a more adult looking, a little more appropriate for a teenage girl's birthday. And I hope she liked it a lot. And that's the completed project. And I really love the combination of the metallic markers with the bright colors, and the sparkle of the clear marker on the unicorn really made the unicorn stand out. I don't know if you can see that too well in the photos, but it is there. So thanks so much for watching. Hope you liked the video, and I hope I inspired you to check out Pinkfresh Studio and that amazing Unicorn Dream stamp set. So pretty. Here are two more videos I've done in the past, so please take a look at those. If you liked the video, give me a thumbs up and leave me a comment. Love getting comments. And if you have not subscribed to my channel yet, I would really appreciate it if you would do that as well. Thank you so much, and have a great day.